Welcome to the material portion of the Visvim liner coat review. I did an extensive research. I tried to find as much footage as I can, as much information as I can, but I still preface this. I still want to preface this. I am not an expert in Visvim. In fact, this is my first Visvim piece. So I know that a lot of Visvim enthusiasts, they're very sharp with their knowledge on how a garment is made. If I get any information wrong, correct me in the comment, cite your source, we will talk it out. If I make a mistake, I don't mind admitting that I made a mistake. I will correct it. I would like to start this video with all the paperwork that Visvim Hiroki gave us, and it's very insightful, it's very thoughtful, so we're going to go through all of it together. This product utilizes rayon fabric. Please be aware of the following point below and exercise a degree of caution when using this product. The colors of the garment may bleed onto other garment when wet or excessively rubbing occurs. This product utilizes a very delicate fabric. It is not intended for strenuous physical activity, as it may damage the fabric and stitching. Rubbing and friction may cause pilling on the surface of the fabric. Rayon may be easily torn when wet. It is not intended for strenuous physical activity, as it may damage the fabric. This product has been processed using a natural dye. Thus, each piece will have a unique color, texture, and an appearance where no one product is alike. A characteristic of using natural dye is that the dye may accumulate around the seams and pockets area, causing each piece to become unique. Due to the use of natural dye, with repeated wears, it is characteristic for the color to fade from the garment and develop a unique appearance. Please be aware that the garment may bleed onto other garment when wet or excessive rubbing occurs. This product utilizes 100% natural down filling. As such, feathers may come out through seams. Please carefully remove loose feathers. If garments become wet or moist from usage, please dry thoroughly before storing. Avoid folding jacket tightly when in storage to preserve the natural lightness of the down filling. If the outer membranes ripped or become torn, seal with mending tape to prevent loss of down filling. The metal component used in this product can be discolored or even rusted due to its characteristics. This product has hand-stitched detailing, giving each product a unique appearance. Be careful not to snag the thread during wear. This product is not intended for strenuous physical activity, as it may damage the hand-stitch areas. Because of this, we will not repair this product. Parts of the garment utilize a vintage fabric, thus the appearance, pattern, textures, and color is unique to each, where no one piece is alike. Possible fraying, scratches, holes, and blemishes are characteristic of vintage fabric. Please be aware that this garment is not defective, as the use of vintage fabric is intentional. Today's manufacturing process has plateaued in a way. Mass production is the norm, with products moving from one end of the manufacturing line to another, and manufacturing processes involving human beings are limited, resulting in the absence of individual skill and personal character in finished products. People simply make uniform, predictable products. I suppose one could say that this is something many of us were once striving to achieve. I feel that the combination of natural dyes and modern manufacturing techniques create the potential for future goods that possess both individual character and a personal touch. This is because natural dyeing cannot be controlled perfectly. Factors that cannot be controlled by humans result in product individuality and depth, and by adding this dyeing process to modern manufacturing approaches, it is easy to inject a bit of unique character into even mass-produced products. This is something that I started thinking about several years ago when I was making indigo dye products. Since then, I have enjoyed creating items for each successive collection while striving to utilize the fusion of natural dyes and modern manufacturing, with the goal of making interesting product. Natural indigo dye. The concept of using the blue pigment found in certain plants to dye fabric came to Japan from China during the 3rd, 4th centuries and became widely used after the industrialization of cotton production during the Edo period. Known for increasing the strength of cotton and acting as a deterrent to insects, indigo dyes was often used in traditional Japanese utilitarian garments like the noragi and yakata. It is resistant to metals, acids, and alkali, and holds its color relatively well. Pale shades have low resistance to infrared light from the sun and indoor light, and will exhibit unique fading over time. Mud dye. a type of vegetable dyeing technique originated from Amami, Oshima, and Okinawa. The bark of the Japanese hawthorn is boiled and the resulting liquid is used to dye the garment. After the first dye, the garment is immersed in iron-rich mud from local rice paddies, which bring about a natural reaction with the iron ions to create a deep brown color. For this technique, a garment must be dyed over 30 times to achieve a light mud color and over 100 times to achieve a dark mud color. Will this color if exposed to fruit acid and will turn a reddish color if exposed to detergents containing alkali. Mud soaking. The garment is soaked and dyed in iron-rich mud from local Amami Oshima rice paddies. Mud soaking results in high resistance to light. Mud-soaked fabric will turn black upon contact with plant nectar or sap. Vegetable dyed. Dye made from boiling plant or insects and combining the resulting liquid with iron or aluminum to create a color reaction. Unlike synthetic dye, where it is possible to achieve consistent coloring, it is said that vegetable dye never yields the exact same color twice. For darker shades, one must dye the garment many times. This color is when exposed to infrared lights, metal, fruit acid, and detergent that contain alkalis. Generally, I have this new rule for myself. I don't like to look at other YouTubers for information because I never want their opinion to get in my head, and I also don't want to copy their stuff. What I mean by that is, a year ago, I wrote this amazing script, and then I made a mistake of clicking on this fashion YouTuber. I won't name his name, but I watched his video, and essentially it was the video that I wrote. So I had to throw that whole script away, and had I not watched it, I could have had plausible deniability. With Visvim, I knew I don't have the most knowledge on them, so I broke that rule, and then I found this channel. They seem to be very knowledgeable. The guys that are on there, they're very knowledgeable, and what I've learned from them is that the lining went through mud dye process and then also indigo and cochineal. The indigo dye was used to dye the army blue, the cochineal dye was used to make the Native American red, and then the mud, it was used to show the pooping that happened when the US Army was hit by arrows by the Native American. Hiroki, he's a man of culture. Okay, let's start with the down. They really emphasize this point, really try to drill it into my head. White Polish goose down. So I looked into it, here's what I found. To classify as a Polish goose down, the eggs of the goose must be purchased from Polish government breeding program called the Polish National Research Institute of Animal Breeding. They started this process of breeding white goose down species called the white coluda in 1962. All of the hatcheries in Poland, they must acquire a license from the government to breed these geese, and all of these red tape, they just mean that it's easy to trace in the supply chain because Canada Goose, Montclair, they always get this bad rep from animal rights activists about that they're not sourced ethically. So with this particular jacket, it's so ethical, the supply chain is so clear, it's so transparent. You need a license from the Polish government. So you cannot get better than that. So what all this red tape means as well is that the price tag, it's going to be trickled down to the consumer. So that's why the down are so much more expensive. The white Polish goose down, the coluda, they're so much more expensive than every other down. And what I learned about the coluda geese is that they're raised in free open fields. So they truly can roam, so they're happier. And if you're not a foodie, a cow that can be roaming, a chicken that lived a better life, will have better meat, better skin, better all that. And the Polish goose down, they only eat something called the avena fatu, which is just a fancy word for common wild oat. And the Polish goose down, they can live in -30 Celsius. And the research told me is also farmers, they only take the down from the breast and the adamant. So, and they also sort it by hand. So they only choose the largest of downs, and then when it's too small, they don't go into production. So that's why it takes a long time to gather enough down to make one of these jackets. In my initial impression video, I said something along the line of, dude, this thing is so lightweight. I am so concerned about this being a nice down jacket for winter, but I was proven so wrong. The ratio is 93 down, 7% leather. A lot of high quality company like Montclair, Canada Goose, Rick Owens, blah blah blah, Givenchy, they use the 90-10 ratio. And after we've learned about the white Polish goose down, I don't think any of us are complaining about the extra 3%. If anything, we want it to be 95 to 98. It's great. This down jacket is great. Right now, my warmest jacket is this Canada Goose, and it's amazing. When I wear this Canada Goose, I'm sweating when it's 10, 20 degrees out. The bandana, the main reason as to why I got this jacket. So the age of the bandana, the mud dye, it has given the bandana a really nice vintage feel. I read somewhere that the bandana is from the 50 and 60, and to try to confirm that, I did extensive Google research, but I couldn't find any actual quote of Hiroki saying it's from those age. So what I did was, if you're looking right now on the jacket, there's some words on there, and you can see that one of them is wash fast colors all cotton RN14193. The other one is Paris accessory bandana all cotton color fast. If you do a quick Google search on these two brands, they were making bandana in the 50 and 60. What I've learned so far is that Hiroki, he travels a lot, so I think Hiroki and the team at Visvim probably source these mainly in person so they can be a bit more thorough with regard to quality control, and probably order a few from online supplier that they trust. Hiroki is one of those designers that pay a lot of attention to material, to the dyeing technique, to the construction, the pattern making. He's not too concerned about graphic or logo, so he's definitely an asshole to deal with regard to quality control. He looks like a perfectionist to me. These guys, they're very strict when it comes to releasing product with their names or brand there. So it's good for us consumer. That means he really pay attention to every possible detail. With regard to the look and feel, you can see a bit of peeling on the cotton or the edge of the cotton. There's this dry feel to it when you touch it. The muted red, if you look at a new bandana, it's a bit brighter. This is probably due to the age of the bandana. On top of that, the mud dye process. All of that being said though, you will not be able to tell this bandana from a new bandana when you put it side by side, unless you're Hiroki, unless you're one of the team members from Visvim. I'm gonna say something controversial now, and I will lay it back. I will justify it. The bandana, they feel very cheap to the touch. It feels like these are just bandana I can go to one of these tourist shops in Boston, downtown Boston, and just get for $5. But then again, this is the exact purpose of the original of those bandana that the team at Visvim sourced from. The special thing about it is the fact that it's from the 50 and 60, and that they were made in America, which has become a bit more rare. Most simple 100% cotton product are now based in China, Vietnam, India, Pakistan. Mass production is at a new scale now since countries, I said earlier, has continued to develop. Couple that with the lack of true workers' right, corrupt government, blah 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 blah. It's really not about quality anymore. So we're at an age where it's about how fast is your turnaround from the design to the production. How cheap can you make them? Another thing I've learned is that Japanese people, they really, really love American culture. Like most countries around the world, because America outsourced a lot of their culture through films, TV show, colonialism, just the basics. So a lot of people outside America become fascinated with American culture. Anyway, my point about saying all that is a lot of Japanese people look at American culture with fondness. Hiroki is one of them, and on top of that, he also studied in Alaska for a few years. So think about this like way. Think Lana Del Rey. She has this deep obsession to old Hollywood, early 1900 romanticized James Dean, Paul Newman, the Great Gatsby vibe. Hiroki probably loved a lot of cultural things that happened in the 50s and 60s, hence why he chose the bandana from those era. He could easily source them from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, probably be cheaper, but he chose to do it from the 50s and 60s, so he probably loved a TV show or something that he saw there. Similar to my channel, I use the yellow font because I grew up in the 90s, in the 2000s, but I watch a lot of the 90s movies with the subtitle and it's all in yellow font, so I incorporate that into my channel. If it is not obvious, that was a lot of speculating, possibly over romanticizing, but I would not put it past Hiroki. I would not put it past Visvim. Hiroki, he's very purposeful with his design and his production. My opinion. So, the bandana, I really like the novelty idea of using vintage bandana, and I believe I used that word novelty right. If I'm wrong, correct me. There are so many bandana print jackets, shirt, pants, whatever on the market, but Visvim decided to use real vintage 50, 60 material. Obviously, Hiroki and the team could have easily used current bandana. He could probably find it for 5 cents a pop. He could probably use that and nobody would know or care about. But Visvim as the brand, they're very committed to excellence. They're very committed to tying the products that they push out to something that they feel fondness for, you know. I grew up in the 90s, so I reference the 90s a lot. 90s movies, early 2000 music movies. We just when we reference something that we love, we always try to keep it as authentic as possible. He could have easily faked it, but he didn't. All of that is to say, I'm very proud and I'm very happy when I wear this jacket. If somebody were to come up to me and say, hey, I really like your jacket, is that real vintage bandana or is that just printed? You know, they probably think it's printed, but I will explain the story to them, what Visvim is, how they did it, the mud dye process, the sourcing of the vintage bandana from the 50 and 60. There's a story to it. You know, fashion is about communicating a story to your consumer, to the wearer. So I think a lot of brands kind of forget that fashion overall has become very revenue based, very get a viral moment out of it. I also want to touch quickly about the paisley pattern bandana print that we know of. So we all know it, but most of us don't know the history or the origin. So let's learn about it together. Firstly, Paisley is a town in Scotland. Secondly, it was not originated from there. Let's rewind the clock back to around 280 to the Sassanid Empire. The pattern that you see is of a cypress tree, which represent life and eternity in Zoroastrianism, the religion that Christianity ripped off. Look into it. Anyway, so how did this print made its way to Europe, specifically Scotland?
Riding round in a rover. You must learn if I see Optimus over.
Britain loved the spice and the fabric, imported a shit ton to the island, but then, you know, the demand far exceeded the supply. So to meet the demand, factories in England and Scotland started producing their own paisley print. A town in Paisley, Scotland became famous for it, maybe because they were the first to the market, maybe they were the largest, maybe they were the best. I couldn't find out, and I don't think it's that important, but the point is, it became popular because of the shortage. Riri zipper, I'll start off with this. It is not better than Ricagni. It gets stuck way more often. It feels cheaper than Ricagni, and I'm not a fan. The chain or the teeth of the zipper is not as good. The slider is not as smooth. It's lighter. It doesn't feel as good to the touch. But the compliment I can give Riri, but specifically this zipper, is that the coat is reversible, right? So this zipper accommodates that. You can flip the slider or puller from one side to the other, which is just, it's a clever idea. The lining is made from rayon. In my experience, rayon is a lot better than polyester, than viscose and silk. It's slightly thicker. It feels better to the touch. And with regard to the print on the lining, I am gonna make another video. I will break it down. It's called the Battle of Little Bighorns, or the Battle of Greasy Grass, known to the Native American. Anyway, that is it for the material. I think that was pretty insightful. Hopefully I made it entertaining for you guys. If you made it this far, you probably thought so. If you didn't, you won't see this part. So next week, we'll talk about the interior lining. It will be the best and longest breakdown of the lining. It deserves it. I put a lot of effort in it so far. I just have to trim some fat, get some more footage. The execution of the idea got to be perfect. Although the ideas are great, I need to execute it. So hopefully next week, the video will come out nicely. My name is MAKASY. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.